I would like to introduce our panel tonight. We have Miss Washington up, Miss Holland Washington. We have Mr. Ron Brown, Kay Fitz, Ken Coleman, uh, Manifest Magic, Miss Jamila Flint, Miss Newbill, Miss Kayla Newbill, and Mr. Okay, and Mr. Romel from one of my hearts. Bless him heart. We're gonna, like I said, like I told everyone, we're gonna have this great conversation. I'm going to go ahead. We're gonna start asking some questions, and I'm going to give everybody their chance to speak. Be open, be honest, be real, because this is all about conversation. I want to hear what you got to say. And anyone on Facebook that wants to send a question, send a chat, go ahead, make sure you put your comments in, and I'll try and include as many of them as possible. All right, is everybody ready for tonight?
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so the first question of the night. Well, let me take a step back. The definition of love by the dictionary standards is a strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties, attraction based on sexual desire, affection, and tenderness felt by lovers, or affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common interest. Okay, that's the first thing. But my question to you, what is your definition of love? What does it mean to you on the most basic level? Um, we're going to start with Miss Peaches and get her take on it.
Good evening, everyone. For me, love, uh, it's always been a toss up, always been a heated discussion. I've always felt for me, love can be unconditional. With that being said, unconditional shouldn't mean with conditions for me. I've never loved somebody with conditions. I've accepted them for the imperfect person they are because I myself am imperfect. I can't sit there to have somebody be a perfect person and I'm flawed. So for me, love has always been without judgment, without hesitation, without hindrance, without boundaries, limitations.
Okay. Okay. Um, and Miss Kayla, what is your definition?
My
Your,
definition of love is being able to operate in a space that is free of outside distractions. It's a place of peace and it's having your person there for you in whatever capacity that you may need them, and them reciprocating that energy by you, and you yourself reciprocating that energy by being there for them. It's allowing, it's allowing yourself to grow in both in each other and individually, and not being intimidated by that, and also understanding and growing from whatever toxic um habits that you may have within a relationship and outside of that relationship. And love is, I believe that love is a verb. It's always an action. It's always going to be, you can say pretty words, but do your actions back that up? So love me through your actions and back it up with the words, rather than use your words and don't back it up with the actions. So love is complex, ever changing, and always growing.
Okay. I love it, love it, love it. Um, let's start to hear from one of our gentlemen, Mr. Ron Brown. You're going to be the first one. I'm going to get come on, unmute it. We need to know what's your definition of love.
Good evening, everybody. Y'all already brought a great definition, so I'm gonna try to caveat off that. But for me, my definition of love is being able to express yourself to someone, no bars hold, finding perfection in their imperfections, because everybody has their flaws and their shortcomings. Just being able to understand each other, you know, without so much as everybody has hiccups and stuff, but to be able to always find a common ground, even in the midst of turmoil, is looking beyond anything negative just for the positive, and to find that every day in somebody, and then to every day find a new reason to love that person. And that's a definition of love. Well, my short, sweet version of it.
Perfect. Miss Jamila.
So I've been sitting here thinking about it, and I don't know what love is yet. I think it is ever changing. I think it is ever growing. Um, what you feel for one person can change over time, and that can be love still. Um, yeah, it's an ever changing action, an ever changing feeling. It is ever changing in the person that you are, ever changing in the person that we say that we love. That's love.
Okay. Perfect. Mr. Romeo, I need your opinion.
Oh, it's my turn. Um, Personally, for me, love is undefined in all aspects. Every experience with love will always be different, but you have to love yourself within first before you can try to love someone else. That's where it begins. Love yourself, then look for outside love. Because if you don't, you're never gonna find it. But my answer is undefined.
Okay, K Fix, King Coleman.
So my definition of love is pretty simple. I think love is positive emotion converted into action. Positive emotions that you can convert into action. The reason I say that, if I flip it backwards, right? If it's negative emotions from a person and it's converted into an action, that negative action many people would perceive as hate, no matter what it is they're doing. So in my mind, when someone takes positive emotions, positive energy, and they convert that into action on my behalf, that's love. Even if it's just positive emotion, and they have the willingness within themselves to hold that love or that positive energy. The holding of positive energy within regards to me is still an action, because they don't have to love me at all. That in itself, I believe, is the textbook definition of love. It's your ability to take positive emotions towards anything and to be able to action that level of energy that you have.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Um, so my next question, let's go back to the basics. Who taught you what love is or was? Who gave you that very basic definition of love, whether it's self-love or love of others? Who demonstrated it for you in your life? Um, we're gonna start with Miss Kayla.
First of all, nice to meet you, Miss Peaches, and Mr. Brown and Mr. Ronell. Nice. Thank you so much for having me on this panel, Miss Michelle. And good evening to you, Miss Jamila. The who taught me to love? I would have to say, as an only child, my parents taught me how to love because they showed me what sacrifice truly was when you care for someone. If I can be vulnerable for just a second, my dad literally did not stop working until he could not work anymore. And as I've grown, I would say that it was to provide a good home for my mom and me. That's definitely it. But it was also to make sure that I had a great foundation to stand upon when I got out of college. My dad stopped working midway through college because he was literally working himself to death. And I could see it on his face. If my dad didn't stop working, he wouldn't be here today. And it's crazy how God works because the love that I see now in him and my mom is a different kind of love. So I do think that it's ever growing. So from a child's perspective, the love is ever changing, from from an adult's perspective, seeing my parents navigate through their marriage, through sickness and health, through the good times and the bad, that's what taught me how to love. Because my mom has stuck with my dad through numerous medical emergencies and hospitalizations, and yet and still they're still standing. So if that's not what love is, and if that's not what love is in action, then I need to see what it is, because that's what I see. Because it showed me the side of marriage, because I ultimately want to be married. It showed me the side of marriage that's not always pretty. It showed me the side of a relationship that's not always going to be the pictures on Facebook and Instagram. It showed me a side of marriage that's not always going to be smile, sunshine, rainbows, and glitter. It showed me the smile. It showed me the rainy days. It showed me the cloudy days. It showed me how to still have joy in those bad moments within your marriage. And that's who taught me love, because I seen an example coming. I realize now that I am a rare breed coming from a 2-parent household, especially in the African American community, and being able to see that is something that has definitely affected my love map and affected how I navigate through friendships and relationships. And it's taught me how to not be so anxious within within the dynamics of whatever I'm dealing with. And it's also taught me patience, and it's taught me how to endure. Because what I'm realizing now is that people want the relationship, but they don't want to endure. People want the wedding, but they don't want the marriage. People want they want the ring, but they don't want the the ramifications of that. And I'm not saying that marriage is always bad, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's plenty of good times, but what defines a marriage is when how you act and how you take the bad times. And so seeing my mom go through that with grace, seeing my mom go through that with prayer, seeing my mom go through that with patience, it was amazing to see. And I realized that as a child, I don't have patience when it comes to my parents' health problems. So that's how I love. I get irritated. I will hang up on you. Like if it comes down to talking to you and seeing about my parent, you got to go. So that's how I deal in my relationship. Oh, sorry y'all, my front door just opened. That's how I deal in my relationship. Is if it comes down to an emergency, I'm going to make sure that you're prioritized. I'm also going to make sure that you're okay, because not being okay is not okay with me. And I have to analyze, observe, and analyze, observe, and evaluate, and act on it. That's how I love, because that's what I seen my mom do. That's what I seen my dad do. My mom was hospitalized as well, and that was more comical than my dad's hospitalizations, but still very much serious. But it's definitely a difference, because I've seen the dynamic between how men and women take health issues. Men are not really, well, this is from my dad's perspective. He doesn't like hospitals, so he didn't stay with my mom, but I did. But when my dad was in the hospital, my mom stayed almost every day for up to 12 hours a day. So, like I said, marriage is going to be sunshine, rainbows, glitter, and unicorns. But it's easy to love somebody in that. But how you go through the rain, the storms, when everything is coming down at you, and you still have to take care of the household outside of taking care of your loved one. That's how I learned how to love, because I wish I could say that I wasn't exposed to that struggle, but I was, and I'm a better person for it.
Okay. Mr. Ron, because I saw your face react the most. I'm gonna present this to you. Present that question to you now. Who taught you what it was to love? Who modeled it for you?
I didn't have that good of an example. To be honest, let me just be honest with y'all. I'll say Uncle Phil or Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv or the Fresh Prince. And I told you I was gonna say that. but the reason being was because Uncle Phil, he showed the dynamics of a husband taking care of his wife through, good times, bad times, even pulling it, even raising up another child, someone else's child. Unfortunately, I was the product of a single parent home. My grandmother wasn't married, and the list goes on. But for me, it was probably the fictional characters on television between Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, Martin and Gina. Those characters, because they showed what it meant to care for your significant other despite good times, bad times, highs and lows, inconveniences, whereas they might have had stuff planned or whatever, and then here it is Steve coming to the house with the Winslows and whatnot. But throughout everything, those fictional Black characters on television or whatever, which were my honest demonstrations of love.
Okay. Miss Peaches.
I'm going to actually say my parents and my grandparents on my mother's side. Reason being is that my parents show me the highs and lows of what it means to love somebody, and show me the low side of what it means to love somebody enough to where you feel as though you aren't getting the same love in reciprocation. My grandparents show me the love, show me how to love based on them loving everybody. And when I say my grandparents loved everybody, they loved and did for everybody. I grew up in a household that was all about love, both with my parents, even with my younger sibling, and in my extended family, my grandparents, my aunts, my sisters, my uncles. All I always saw was love. Now, does love change? It does. Why? Because we as people change. So love changes, doesn't mean it has to change for the better, doesn't mean you have to change for the worse. It changes. And people have to understand to adapt to that change, for one, within themselves, two, within their relationship dynamic whichever you prefer to call it as. But love, I've always known love from more so my dad than anything, is that love is unconditional. You don't judge people for who they are. You base on how you love them based on who they are to you, how they affect your life, how you feel around them, how if they make you smile, happy, cry, sad, all those things plays a factor into how you love, and to what extent do you say, okay, I love this person, am I getting the same love in return? So I've seen it on both sides, the good and the bad.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Um, okay, computer, come on. There we go. Now, Romeo, next up, let's go.
Ah, um, it's kind of the same with me with television love. The first sight of love for me was on television, how families work there. Growing up in foster care, I imagined that's how love was supposed to work. But that's my first introduction to love is sitcoms. Coming up, watching what the people had on the TV growing up in the houses, what the old people were watching, Days of Our Lives. But that's what showed me love. TV shows showed me what was love, how to love, and how to not navigate through it. Because it was so much on TV, but that's what showed me what love was when I first was interested.
Okay. Miss Shamilla.
Okay. For me, um, though my parents definitely showed me love, the biggest impact of love for me was my grandfather, my mother's father. Uh, he was my biggest cheerleader. He always showed up in the moment that that to me was a huge expression of love. But he was also my biggest brother in that hindsight, when you're getting that tough love and you're being reprimanded, it doesn't feel like love. But when you look at it, I look at it, he's been gone 20 years now, and I look at it and I'm like, that was love. Like he would tell me, chick, we gotta go for coffee. I knew I was in trouble, but I also knew that whatever he was gonna give me was from his heart and was out of sheer pure love for who I was, who he saw in me, and who I was to become. So yeah, and not only that, but I would probably say that his side of the family was probably my biggest example of love. Is just, we family, period. Um, we argue, we fuss, we fight, we don't like each other, but we love each other always. Um, and that there's a saying in our family, FOE, family over everything. And at the end of the day, when something goes down, I don't care if we're not talking. I don't care, who did what to who, but if we got to come together, we got to come together. That to me is uh, a prime example of what love is. And that's who showed me love. That's how I learned love. Um, the love that both of these gentlemen have spoken of to me, that was, I think, for, I'll speak for me, but definitely for women, it was that fantasy of love, what we wanted love to look like. It was, the Disney princesses and seeing Laura and Stefan and seeing, um, all of the Winslows, the Lord, I can't even think of Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, all of those. That was definitely, they were beautiful. And the Huxtables, who definitely can forget Claire and Heathcliff Huxtable. Those were great love stories, but they were also fantasies because you never saw the work that had to go into those love stories. So as beautiful as they were, as beautiful as they are, for me, the depth of love that I was taught through my grandfather and the rest of my family.
Okay. And Mr. King Coleman?
So I'm gonna keep it a blanket with you real quick. So I learned love from trial and error. Nobody taught me. No one actually sat me down and told me this is what it is. I learned from watching the good things, the bad things that people did. I learned from the mistakes of my father. So my father committed suicide when I was 5 years old. So I didn't get to know him growing up. My mom gave me away when I was 18 months old. So I didn't grow up with them, didn't know them that well, don't know them that well to this day. So staying with my grandparents, they didn't know much about how to teach love because they themselves were still trying to figure themselves out. So I had no one to teach me. I sat back and I watched the good things that people did. I watched the bad things. And to be transparent along the way, I picked up a little bit of both. Anybody that says they just picked up the perfection would absolutely be lying to you. So I took both, I've applied them both to my life, and throughout time, it's just been trial and error. And I think it kind of goes back to what Brahman said earlier. It's not perfect. There's no perfect way to do it. At the end of the day, what matters the most is learning how to love yourself first. Because if you can't love you, it's absolutely impossible to genuinely love somebody else. And on top of that, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, you're trying to love somebody else. You may think your love is at a 10 right now, but the honest to God truth is that if you are self-loving at a 2 and you believe you're loving somebody at a 10, be very, very clear to yourself that when you finally learn to love at a 10, what was once a 7, loving others, can become a 20. So I think it's very, very important that while in that process of growing, we continue to look for the education of how to love others throughout time, but prioritize self-love first so that it is easier to love others in the long run. That's all I have.
Perfect. So the next question. Do you know? No, let's switch that out a little bit. How do we as a culture demonstrate love? We've already seen that by TV is how a lot of us are learning love even to this day. So, and we have a couple of generations that we're encompassing on this live. So my question now is, how do we, if you take a step back and realize as a culture, how do we model love? How do we demonstrate it? What is something that's overwhelmingly constant in different households? Single parent, no parent, both parents, no matter what, divorced, single, never married, all of that. How is it demonstrated in different households? Okay, Romel, go ahead and start off. I see your hand raised.
Okay, look, so if you want to break it down to individually, we have to tackle the toxic environment that we deal with each other on. This hatred that we have in each other for each other. Deep down, that's seated. When we get to a certain point of our life, we don't like to see others get to that same point. And it's not that we realize it's subconscious, is what been taught. So when we go back and break it down, we have to take the time individually with everyone in the household, not as a group, but individual conversations with them, understanding what their needs and our needs are, and giving that selfishly to each other, not trying to harm or bash or tear down or to compare. Sit there and absorb that person's needs at that point. When we go back and try to restructure ourselves, we can always point out the bad things and the good things. So we have to learn the good things, the bad things, and the in between things. I ain't got my words all the way together right now, but we have to learn to deal with the things that's not comfortable, that we see in ourselves and we see in others, ultimately.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Miller, your thoughts.
First of all, I would definitely agree with Romeo on that because of culture, how we were taught to love has been very toxic. Uh, but as a culture, um, our love language, when you talk about how as a culture do we show love, if you could be mad at your significant other, you could be mad at your parent. We still going, are you hungry? You gonna eat? Yeah, have you eaten today? We might be slamming pots and pans in the kitchen, but our love language is still food. Um, it, but in that, I think it's very powerful and very healing, um, because there is something to be said about wanting to satisfy not only your physical man, but your spiritual man, satisfying the soul as well. Soul food is isn't just isn't just at this stage in the world. It isn't just what we're using to eat to survive. It is now a part of our culture that is so embedded because, you know, there are people to this day, I won't eat anybody's potato salad but my grandma to this day. But there is love in that potato salad that I don't taste in everybody's potato salad. You know what I'm saying? So definitely when we talk about what love looks like as a culture for us, it's definitely in food.
Okay. 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 So, what's your thoughts? Miss Peaches, I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, my bad. Um, for our culture, I would agree with both Ramel and Jamila. Also, another thing that has always been significant for our culture is our music. Our music has always changed people's perspective for the better. They may have a negative perspective based on whether they can understand the words or not, but it has always meant something to our culture from the test of time to the Underground Railroad to now. It has always made a difference, an impact on our culture as a people. Unfortunately, this generation, and not so much this generation, but in this time and day right now, the music has gotten lost because now it's all about the money, the cars, the women. They don't, and it's not that it's a bad thing. You make your money how you see fit. If you can sleep well at night based on the music that you make, to me, I say don't worry about what other people think. But if you are making music and at some point you get you're going to get feedback, regardless, going to be negative or positive. You can't please everybody. But if you feel some type of way about your music, which our music has made us, has kept us throughout all of these years, it has kept us. Make music that means something to your culture. Respect your culture. Don't downplay your culture because you're trying to make that next big buck. That is not what our music has never been about. It's been about love, honoring men, women, respecting, helping, seeking, friendship. All those things have been a part of our collective culture. It just has gotten really lost, but I would love for us to get back to that because our music was everything. If it could touch your soul and make you cry, it meant something. It meant something. Period. If ands buts about it. And our gospel music, not so much our gospel music, our hymn, and everybody has different perspective when it comes to religion, as far as Christianity, primitive Baptist, everything. You hear somebody old school sing a hymn, you done. I don't care who you are. Because it hits your soul, because that's our culture. That's where we came from, period. So that is something that we have lost so much of is our music and what it meant to us as a culture. I don't care what color skin you are, as a culture as a whole. Music has always brought people together, always has, always has. But it has also destroyed cultures as well, based on the meaning and everybody's personal interpretation. And that's unfortunately not something that we can control a lot of times.
Okay. Okay. King Coleman, let's go.
Okay, so I, man, this is a sensational group tonight. I'm gonna, I really had to think because each of you have said a lot of positive things, and some I don't necessarily agree with, but nonetheless, very solid thoughts. So what I will say, just solely focusing on the question at hand, I think one thing that we do well in the Black community to kind of show love, I think depending on the environment that you're in, I believe we do a really good job of protecting each other. But it all depends on the environment. It depends on where you grow up, what everyone around you is taught, and how you all come up to how you come up together. Because at the same time, like I said before, I believe above everything else, you can't love someone else well until self-love has been prioritized. So if you grow up in an environment where self-love is warranted, whether that's in the streets, whether that's solely in your house, then it's easier when you leave your home to go out and about, to meet people, to have those interactions, and to eventually develop those intimate relationships with someone else to where you can show that love. But if there's one thing I really believe in when it comes to relationships and just within Black culture that we do well, and we do damn well when we get committed to it, is protecting each other. I know at the end of the day, we can fuss, we can fight, we can have differences of opinions, but Lord knows if it come down to it, I know if I gotta go to war, she coming to war with me, and hell, fire, brimstone, whether she's on the ground, I'm on the ground, we are walking each other out alive through the other side. So if the number one thing I believe that Black people bring to the table at all times is protection. I have a couple more examples of protection because I'm gonna take you a step further. Number one, if we want to talk about who protects more than anybody else in the household, it is the Black male. Very important. Let me get this whole thing out. This matters. In the household, the Black male should be the number one protector. I don't care how anyone else feels. Don't argue with me, argue with your grandmama. The Black male should be that number one protector. Now, let me tell you something. Here's the reason why. Because if we look at these past couple years, guess who's been protecting America? Black women. I'm gonna pause for a minute. I'm gonna let y'all soak that one in real quick. Guess who's been protecting America? Guess what? When Obama was pulling up, they ain't want him in the seat. Guess who put him there? Black women. When the second term was going to happen and they were trying to do everything they could to get him out of office, guess who closed that out? Black women. Guess what? When Trump was wilding out during his term, he's out of office now. I'm an Army officer. He's out now. It's safe for me to talk about it. So I'm going to talk my shit. Now that he is out of his seat, guess who got him out of that seat? Shout outs to Georgia. Shout outs to Detroit. Guess who, though? Shout out to the Black woman that made that happen. How about this? How about shout outs to Stacey Abrams, who set the conditions? Let's talk about Mayor Keisha Bottoms. Let's set those conditions. Let's talk about a Black queen all the way up at the top that helped to set all of those conditions. Let's talk about the fact that the man was so mad he couldn't even sit in position to watch a Black woman take authority. Let's also keep it a buck. You did not lose to Joe Biden. You lost to Kamala Harris. Let it sing, let it ring out real quick. I'm pausing for a moment. See, I wasn't going to go here. I wasn't, but this is very, very important. So in my
give it to me, Ken. Give it to me.
In my personal opinion,
I'm listening.
Black men, you are 100% responsible for taking care of your house because Black women have taken care of everything outside of your house. The least we can do is facilitate everything that happens in that house and to make sure that it is copacetic, that what is needed is there, that the emotions are there, that the physical love is there, because everything else you need, believe me, in the words of Dipset, when it's repping time, Black women show up. I'm done. Next.
I just want you to keep on talking.
Hold on. We're gonna keep it a band, right? We're gonna keep it a band, right? Hold on. I gotta interject. We're gonna keep it a band, right? Right? As a Black man, the Black woman, I ain't gonna try to downgrade, but in a household, the Black man get downgraded so much that rather finding a job that worked a 9 to 5 that guaranteed me pay 14 days. I'd rather go sell drugs so I can provide what you want. Don't get wrong. Oh, she gotta get called back. Hold on. Hold on. Call back. I protect the Black woman all day long, but if I'm in that household and I'm not protected, what am I doing this for? What am I going outside this household to bust my ass for when I gotta come home and hear the bullshit from my spine? What is my job? My job is to protect you. Of course, my job is to provide for my kids. Of course. But how can I provide for mine when mine is on my back 24/7? Oh, you ain't got gold teeth. Oh, you ain't got a fade. You ain't got dreads. You don't sell dope. But with all that's being said, you want somebody that can hold you, talk to you, be about your emotions, protect you. Pick one. I'm happy to protect the Black woman, but for once, can I be protected by mine? Because a Black woman will step out her own race to go with a white man with good credit soon as he pay a motherfucking bill. Soon as he pay a fucking bill. But let me go out and say, baby, look here. I've been putting in applications day after day. I got this one gig. It's at a fast food restaurant. It's only $9. They say don't give me a chance. Oh, no, I can't fuck with a nigga that work 9 to 5. Why? When this is guaranteed money. But you rather see me tatted up, right? You want to see a nigga flossing because that's the good shit. That's payment. But I want to be protected. I want to have the same things you have. I'm all about protecting my Black woman. Yes, and I got 2 beautiful Black daughters. But can I get protected? Why do I got to get beat down for providing the shit I'm supposed to? It's my job. I'm not bragging. It's my job to do everything that you said. But why is it that when we refer to our Black women, we have all this shit we must do? This is a must. It's a must for you to be my back. It's a must for you to ask me, baby, how was your day? Okay, I ain't cooked dinner, but we can cook it together. Tell me how your day was. Explain something. Let me get my stress. You are my de-stress from the world. I'm already getting shot, hung, killed. I'm already getting aggravated on the job. Wife, oh, get a real job. I am at my job. I have to deal with the outside world. But I still got to come home, fuck my problems. Let me deal with you. Let me protect you. from ultimately yourself. Nobody judge Black women more than Black women themselves. So I get you, bro. I feel you. But you gonna be the voice for them? I'm gonna be the voice for the bro man. Can we get some protection around here? And that's all I'm gonna say about that when I'm out.
Okay, I have a question then.
Go for it.
We seem to have a huge toxic relationship here that we're talking about now, right?
Yeah.
So for me, and maybe this is just how I was raised, but you let your man go out there, do what he needs to do to fight the world, come back and protect. But it's also my job as the Black woman to protect my man. Just like I protect my children, I'm gonna protect my man. It's a whole lot of people who can be out here saying stuff about my man, but at the end of the day, you ain't gonna say it in front of me. It's not a thing. So then you have to be mindful of the people that you allow in your space that say they love you. Because if you're in a space where they are constantly hammering you down and they are not protecting you, that's not love. Love is patient, love is kind, love is ever changing. Love, there should never be a time where you come in from home and at some point, everybody, don't get me wrong, I've been married, done that. Yes, you are going to be in a space where neither one of y'all really feel like talking. Everybody's had a bad day. But at the end of it all, the one thing I learned from my grandparents that I learned from my great-grandparents is we don't let the sun go down on our wrath. And that's why love lasted so long in those days, because we were able to talk it out and protect each other. And that is the epitome of what Black love should look like.
Okay. Kayla.
Thank you so
You're
much.
right.
I've been real quiet, and Ronell, you were real passionate about it. But let me piggyback off of what Jamila said. If somebody is coming in your household and disrupting your peace, they got to go. Like I'm gonna use my phrase that I was using yesterday. Go with God, beloved, because what you're not gonna do is disrupt my peace. And you're not gonna, and you can't do it because, like you said, you coming in the house and you done paid all the bills, you done worked your 9 to 5, you done had a bad day, and you gotta keep on, and you gotta come in your house and keep on the whole armor that you have to have on outside. Nah, that ain't it. Like I need to put that armor down. As a Black woman, I need to put that armor down at the front door. I need to put down my job. I need to put down my clients. I need to put down the stresses. I need to put down my bosses, and I need to put down clear people because they try you too. And it's just too much. And so as a Black woman, I need to be able to put down the armor so I can protect my Black man, because what he cannot do, sometimes he cannot put down that armor because he has to protect his household, and he has to pay these bills, and he has to make sure the children are okay. He has to make sure the cars are working fine. He has to make sure that the oil has been changed, the brakes are good, and the ice has been shoveled in the driveway, and my car is warmed up so that I can go out here and help him protect our household. So it's like I am being a helpmate, but like I have to help keep my peace in my house, because if my man ain't at peace, then this whole household is disrupted. Just like if I'm not at peace, this whole household is disrupted. And so what I'm not going to do is go to sleep with my household disrupted. So I need for you to put that armor down. And if you had a bad day, come to me. I may have had a bad day, but we can sit down, ground each other, and talk about it. Like, I am here for you to be vulnerable, and I am here for you to be cognizant of the fact that you had a bad day. And it's okay. It is okay to have a bad day. It's okay, Black man, to have a bad day. Black man, let me tell you something. If you are in the mental space and you had a real bad day and you just can't, and we got kids and you just can't deal with it, it's okay. Just go, take you 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and take a breather, take a shower in the dark, and play your music, play trap if you want to. Do what you have to do to be okay in the household and make sure that you can be a present husband, a present father, a present protector, a present priest, and a present prophet of my household. Because if you are not that, and that, like, my pastor says, to everybody else, I am Pastor Thompson, but to my wife, I am Brian. And let me tell you what Brian does. He takes out the trash, and he takes care of his wife, and he takes care of his kids. And that's and you have to distinguish the two, because you can be what's your last name, Ronell? Well, sorry.
It's Romel, but it's Busby.
You can be Mr. Busden outside. Be him outside. Because when you come in here, you Romel. And what Romel does in this house and what he does outside the house is two different things. They may be the same person at times, but they're two different things. Because it's like Ken said, it's a difference. Because when you are out and about with your family, it's a different mindset that you're in. And when you are out and about in the world by yourself, it's a different mindset that you're in. So you have to balance all of those mindsets, and you have to be cognizant of the world that you're in, but also you have to be able to let that stuff I'm not saying that you have to let it go completely when you come in the house, but you have to put it down so that you could be a present help in the household, so that and you have to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, today ain't a good day. And you have to be vulnerable enough to speak your needs to your helpmate and your spouse. You have to be able to communicate what you need, because your needs change daily in a relationship. One, you may just need a hug, and the next day you may need to sit down and vent about it and use all the cuss words that you can't use on clear people because you get fired. You need it's a balance. And I ain't never been married, but let me tell you something. I believe in protecting the Black man, just like the Black man believe in protecting the Black woman. And what we have to do as Black women is to start building each other up and being present and understanding that just because we are not the same doesn't mean that we cannot work together. And we have to understand that our houses shouldn't be battlefields. So you are completely correct in saying that I shouldn't come in my house and be nagged at. No, you shouldn't. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it, and it's also your tone. So you can ask for what you need as a Black woman to a Black man, but it's all about how you need. If you come in the house and you had a bad day and I'm just yelling at you about some dishes that I could have washed, that's not conducive to a healthy environment. Throw them dishes in the dishwasher and just move on. It's the little things that can disrupt the household that ends up being a big thing. I'm sorry for going over my time. Thank you for letting me speak.
Preach.
Okay, Mr. Ron Brown, come on in and finish us up for this question. Come on.
Come on
How
now.
can I go behind these two kings and have anything to say? Both of them brothers put it down. I was gonna stick to what Romel said to say seafood salad. But
Bro, I need my own bowl, seafood salad. Nobody else can touch it. That's mine. Get your own. She gonna make some more. That first bowl, mine. I need that. That's me.
exactly.
That's me.
But
That's
I'm gonna have to say the one thing that we do culturally is protect each other. I will say that, because even brother to brother. If I'm at a job, I drive for UPS now. But if I just see your brother, getting hassled by the man, the white folks or whatever, I'm gonna make sure that brother's straight before I look out for that white dude. Hey, them boys on your back, they say you coming in late or whatever, and that's just the love I have for my brother, to make sure he still got his job to take care of his family. In the same token with my queens, I have 6 sisters. I'm gonna say that again, I have 6 sisters. Lord, somebody help me.
God bless your whole Black heart, sir. God bless you. I'm praying for you.
Thank you.
So you're my
Headshot.
prayers.
Thank you. But the same token, I would be willing at any given moment to go to jail or to die for my sisters, you know, because that's my heart. Those are my queens. I love them that much. So when it comes down to it, and my sisters and I, we have fought growing up like cats and like straight niggas off the street. And I am my mother's smallest child. I'm 5'9", 200 pounds, and my mama's smallest child. But I fought when I've gone to, and I'm the oldest child. But if these Amazon women can, you know, go to toe to toe with me, at the end of the day, I know that they still have my back as far as protecting me, you know, making sure no female breaks my heart and making sure nobody don't try me and whatnot. But yes, when it comes down to it, as a culture, one of the things that we do best, even down to the dope boys, you know, we look out for each other. Whereas, hey, if we see the cops on the street or whatever, a 5-0 lurking and whatnot. So, good, bad, or indifferent, we do protect each other culturally. Now, sometimes we might not always want to see each other come up the same way that we do or whatever. I'm guilty of it. But we, for the most part, we do still, you know, protect each other as far as, you know, at least wanting the best interests in each other culturally. That's all I got, because y'all was on it, man.
Okay, okay. So my next question, feeding off the conversation we're having, do you know and can you verbalize the difference? Let me say that, but let me give that a better question. What is a toxic love to you in your definition? Define toxic love. And we're gonna go in reverse order. We're gonna start off where we ended. Come on, Mr. Brown, because I saw you put that head back.
I was about to say my baby mama.
We're not gonna do that today. We're not gonna do that today.
Don't do that, boy. Ooh, boy.
Don't do that. Don't do
I'm
that.
joking. I'm
For all the baby
joking.
mamas on this here panel, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm joking because she might be watching this.
Don't come for my virtual nieces and nephews. Don't do that. Don't do that.
We outnumbered. Don't do it.
Don't you do that, sir? Don't you do that? Don't you do that? Don't do that. Don't listen. You in their business. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Hold on, wait. I right now I'm battling COVID-19 right now, so that might be the COVID talking for me. I'm sorry.
Nah, sir. Don't. What you're not gonna do is blame that on the mental. You're not gonna blame that on the mental health issue to a mental health specialist. You're not gonna do that.
I can't help
Why
you.
you had to start with me?
I'm about to mute my.
Brown, tell me your definition of toxic love. Come on, tell me.
Toxic love for me is those situations with those exes that whereas I would give and they would take, and that's all they knew to do was take, but not, you know, represent me or our relationship, you know, me as a man and whatnot, appreciating me, valuing me. But as long as you got a vagina, you know, I'm all about you, you know, working hard all day long or whatever, still got to cater to you and whatnot. But then I can't even get a back rub after going on all these jumps and stuff, or driving, delivering all these packages or whatever. I can't even get a back rub. I'm messing with my feet, but you know, just being able to reciprocate was given out. For me, that's a portion of toxic love.
Okay. Miss Peaches, tell me about toxic love.
Unfortunately, I had to experience toxic love with my parents. My dad was a drug addict and an alcoholic. So, therefore, I saw the downside to loving somebody. I guess my mother said she loved him too much. I think, to me, I felt as though you can love somebody until you're tired of a certain situation that you're in. And being as though my father was into drugs and alcohol, that was a situation. And she had to come full circle and say she was tired of it for her to come out of it. For me, toxic relationships are relationships that you are currently in. You can choose to leave, but you are hoping and praying that they will change. The reality that you cannot make anyone change if they themselves are not ready to make the change for themselves. They cannot make the change for you, your children, or anybody else. It has to be a change they want to make for them. Can you be there to support them? Absolutely. But in hindsight, if they choose not to, then you have to decide if you're going to make the change for yourself, what's best for you and what's best for your children.
Okay, okay. So, Jamila, talk to me.
Toxic love is misconstruing sex for love. I think way too often we have friends with benefits and we fall in love with them. We fall in love with the idea of love. Sex is sex is only an act unless we are in a healthy relationship. And far too often, sexually, we're not in healthy relationships. It's just sex. She got that good, good. He got a big old, he does this, she does that. And those are tricks. That's not love. And it's toxic to the point that then you have crazy baby mamas and crazy baby daddies. Let's call it what it is. Everybody turns into that because and all it is now you have a baby mama and a baby daddy. And I can say that from a very unique place because I can tell you for sure that I still love my ex-husband. He is the father of my children. And though we did not work out, we had to go through the toxic phase of I don't like you, you suck, and he being a baby daddy and I'm being a baby mama and all of that. But at the end of the day, when things came down to it, he has always been there for our children. That to me is big love for me. It's big love for me. So, when you talk about toxic love, it's got to be more than just sex. What do you have in common? Do you have anything in common outside of, you know, saying she got a fat ass or she got some big old whatever, it's got to be more than that. That to me is probably one of the biggest toxic and misconstrued things that we see as love, and it's not.
Okay, okay. So, ooh, this can really be fun. Come on, K Fix.
Oh Lord, why'd you call me? I was hoping you was gonna skip my ass. All right, here we go. Number one, there's no such thing as a toxic relationship. Relationships ain't toxic, people are. I'm gonna say it again. Number one, relationships aren't toxic, people are. What happens is that people can be toxic for one another. The relationship itself was intended to be something good, i.e., you came into the situation with good intentions. So the question is, does the relationship get toxic over time, or do the perspectives of the two individuals in the relationship cause the relationship to become a toxic situation? Based on this, solely my opinion alone, the relationship itself is not toxic because, let's be honest, without the two of you being together, there is no relationship. And without you two being together, there isn't really any toxicity between the two of you. The problem is not the relationship. The problem is the people. Whether it's that over time, your opinions change, whether it's some of the things that you do in your life, you adjust yourself. And if you two disagree in the process, maybe what you came into the relationship with is not what you transformed into along the way. And unfortunately, the disagreements turn into problems. But lo and behold, the minute that you two separate, break up, done with each other, no more, all that toxicity, if y'all two aren't engaged in each other, if y'all aren't having any dialogues, there's nothing else going on, there's no more toxic relationship. It's just two people that parted their ways and move on to something else. But here's the thing, when you leave, it does not mean that whatever behavior happened in the relationship, you cannot produce again. So you are walking around with the toxicity, not the physical relationship itself. So I start the way I'm going to end it the way I started. At the end of the day, I don't believe there's really such thing as a toxic relationship. I believe there's toxic people or toxic habits that people have. They bring it into the relationship. It is not revealed up front. And when that baggage is finally revealed, that causes problems. And because two people are together in a relationship, we tag it as a toxic relationship. It doesn't exist. It's just two people who came into relationships with something toxic, and the other person does not know how to compromise, mitigate, or work with the toxic behavior that person produced. And by the time that it becomes problematic, it's already too late, beyond resolution. And the only way to eliminate the toxicity is to either break it up, separate from the person, whatever the case may be. I yield.
All right. Come on, Miss Kayla.
We're talking, the men were talking about the emotions in within a toxic relationship, and allow me to talk about the actions that happen within a toxic relationship. And that's where, well, allow me to define, in my opinion, what the actions are in a toxic relationship, whereas it's the what I like to call gaslighting. Me approaching you about an issue calmly, and then you blowing up and turning it back on me as if something is my fault, or something, or I didn't do anything that you wanted me to do. And it could be, and the toxic behavior, it could be you mentioning something that I didn't do 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh, like, I really wanted you to take me out to dinner. Well, you didn't have sex with me last weekend. What does that have to do with anything? Like, you broke a promise. So those are the actions that define the toxic relationship. And like Ken said, there are people who are great as individuals, and but they're better apart. And so I was, before this live, I was thinking about it. Like, I had a pregnancy scare, and I realized now that had I been pregnant, me and this person would have been great co-parents, but we would not have been great as a couple. So I didn't doubt his ability to be a present and active father, but what I did doubt was the fact that we could have a healthy relationship together and coexist. That probably would not have happened, and it's nothing on them, and it's nothing on me either. It's just the fact that our personalities are drastically different, and I can say that I would have a lot of growing to do, and so would he. So it's different. And so a toxic relationship to me is defined as if you or the other person in a relationship is if you are not able to go home and be at peace, if you sit in your car for like 2 hours, not because of self-care, but because you really don't want to deal with the person that's inside. If you avoid this person, don't communicate, don't talk to this person, those are the red flags of a toxic relationship. I mentioned on the last live that if you yell at me, that's toxic. You got to go, because what I'm not going to do is yell back at you. Because then it becomes, because then it comes to the domestic dispute and an altercation. And so it's just that breach of boundaries that becomes toxic. I tell you what my no-goes are, and you disregard them. Disregard for my feelings, emotions, invalidating my points of view and my personal opinions of myself, and trying to alienate me from my friends and family. Those are all toxic. And those are things that I take into account, and I'm very serious about, because of the field that I work in. I have to look at it like that. Are you in danger? Because we only talk about the physical abuse, but we never talk we always talk about physical abuse, which is wrong, but we never, which is absolutely wrong. People die from domestic violence every day, but we never talk about the physical, we never talk about the emotional, mental, and sexual abuse that happens within a relationship. Because just because you're married doesn't mean that you can have sex with your spouse anytime you want. That it still involves consent. And I know that's a controversial subject. And having somebody constantly berate you, that's mental abuse. Constantly tell you that you're worthless and nothing, that's mental abuse. And playing on your emotions, that's emotional. Like saying such like I said, quote unquote gaslighting, turning every argument as if it's my fault and I'm just trying to communicate. Those are things that I perceive as toxic. Those are things that I can't tolerate, and those are things that I will not deal with. Because if it came down to me or you on who has to go, I choose me every time. I will exit a situation before it becomes any more toxic than it is, because I'm not going down this road with you, and I don't want you to go down this road with me. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Bringing up the rear, Mr. Romeo. Let's go.
Honestly, all my points was covered already. So I got cane for a little bit, but it's cool. But they already covered my points on toxicity and a toxic relationship. It's all about how you treat each other. And Brett hit it right on the head. Like I ain't got nothing to say, really, to be honest. Take it away.
Okay. So my next question. Now, with everything we talked about and the different processes, when we're talking about love, I want to understand, what is your definition of self-love? What does that look like in your mind? Because that's one of the things that seems to be lacking in a lot of situations this day and age. Tell me what self-love looks like to you. We're starting off with Ms. Jamila.
Is I'm having personally to be intentional with it now, but self-love for me looks like saying yes to me first. If I don't want to go to such event, no, period. It is self-love for me is more mental than physical. I appreciate the bubble baths and being, whatever, enjoying food, things like that. But for me, self-love till first. Self-love is making sure that I'll check my self-love mentally and emotionally out of whack, then as Kid was saying, then now I'm a toxic person to someone else because I have self-love, self-worth. So for me, self-love is definitely being able to say yes to me first.
Okay. Okay. Um, Mr. Brown, what is self-love to you?
Hello. Self-love is me just getting my food from DoorDash, but self-love is being able to take care of yourself and just, being okay with enjoying yourself without the need for a significant other, without the need for company, but just, being able to do you, if that makes sense. Self-love is, knowing, being in shape mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, because if you love to shop, you want to make sure that you love yourself enough to save money. Um, just knowing and being in tune with yourself. The same way you have to take your car in for a tune-up every couple of months or every so often, you should be able to do the same thing with yourself. And when you get in tune with yourself, that's a more self-love to be.
Okay. Okay. Um, Ms. Peaches, what is self-love?
To me, self-love is one, find out what makes you happy. Whether you're a man or woman, you first and foremost realize that you were first and foremost put on this earth as a man or woman. Whether and people tend to lose their self when they become a husband or wife and become a mother or father. But unfortunately, you are still you. You're still a man or woman first and foremost. Most people fail to realize that, and they tend to dedicate themselves to everybody else but themselves. Self love is taking time for you. And unfortunately, people use the excuse they always don't have time for themselves. And that's where the problem comes in at. That's where the stress, the frustrations, the irritations, the lack of taking care of yourself health wise, all those things play a part into you not taking care of you. Because as someone said, I believe in the panel, you can't take care of nobody else and you don't take care of yourself first and foremost. That is the biggest thing. You cannot take care of anybody else and you let yourself go. And then you're in the hospital and then what? You cannot. You have to take care of you. I have learned that. So this is my personal experience. You have to take care of you before you can make any attempt to take care of somebody else. You have to set time and take care of you. You don't have a choice because you're not teaching anything to your children on self-care if they never see you take care of you. That's not the example that you want to set, is to sacrifice yourself for everybody else. That's not what being married, having children is about. You have to take care of you, period. That's not up for negotiation or a choice. You have to take care of you. That's doing what you feel is best for you. If you feel as though you need to get a weekend away, that's self care for you. You want to turn your phone off, read a book, nice bubble bath, that's self care. Self care is the little things that makes you feel free for, even if it's an hour. You can breathe a sigh of, I feel better. That is self care. If you can't, that wasn't self care. That was you just doing it because somebody else said you need to do it. That is not what self care is. You have to put yourself first. And that's it.
Okay. Ms. Kayla, what is self-care?
Thank you for posing that question. Self-care for me is being able to establish and create boundaries that nobody can breach in order for me to be the best person I can be. And that includes everyone. And it is okay if those around me do not understand why I create these boundaries or why they are in place. But as long as I am healthy and in a good mental space, then that is all that matters. And also understanding when I have been triggered and deal with those, and when I am at my limits and being pushed past my limits. I had a I had to, I was having a heated discussion and I had to stop my roommate, and I said, and I had to tell her, I said, You're pushing, you want something from me that I can't give to you, and you're pushing me past the limit that I don't, that I have." And she recognized that, and she was like, well, how can we still discuss this and not be pushed past our limits? And so I had to take a deep breath and understand that some things I just need to be able to deal with on my own, and some things I need to work out for myself. And it is okay to say no to people. It's okay to say no to things. It's okay to say no to everything. And it's okay to be by yourself and to have self-care and mental health days, because it's necessary and it's needed. And my self-care practices vary. It could be me going to breakfast on my own, to me getting on the road and going on a road trip. And it could be with notice or it could be without notice. It just depends on how I feel that day. And um as long as it is not destructive, and it's ethically and morally okay, all right, then however you self-care is how you self-care. I've um I've took myself to the movies. Oh, I don't have a date, I'll be my own date. And it's also being able to understand that you can love yourself without having a mate, without having someone that is um uh without dating, because I believe that you can you can be alone and not lonely, and you can be in a relationship and alone and lonely. So it's a it's kind of tricky when it comes to self-care, because there's the question, how much is too much? Some people say there's no limit to self-care, and others say, well, you should have one day. And I think you can have as many self-care days as you want. And as long as you are healthy, satisfied, and happy, who am I to tell you that your self-care is unhealthy? So self-care to me is when you are grounded, when you are clear-headed, and when you can think in a great space, and be in a great space, and emerge a better person and refreshed and ready to face the day. Because as many people have said on this panel, the world is constantly against us, and we're always taking hits, and we have to go out our front doors and fight. But when we come home, we can let that go. And so that's what self-care is as well. Being able to let go of whatever the world has for us, and being able to focus on our needs and what we need to rebuild, replenish, refresh, and be full. Because some days we come home half empty, and we just need to that little bit of self-care to fill back up. And sometimes we come home and we say we need a whole week, and that's okay, because the world is constantly changing, constantly evolving, and so are the demands on us, especially when it comes to the Black community. And raising a Black family is a lot. So in that aspect, self-care is important.
Okay. Okay. Um, Romeo, talk to me about self-love.
Self-love for me, it started with me, looking in the mirror, analyzing who I was, and did I like the person who I was. That's self-love for me. I grew up in foster care, always just dealing with myself. So I always found the time and took the time to deal with myself. So that it just simply put, it's what's on the inside for me. I understand everything that the panel said tonight, but I'm gonna make it simple and sweet. I look in the mirror. Do I like me? Do I like the person that I am? If not, I'm gonna change. And that's self-love.
Okay. K Fitz.
So, okay. So number one, bruh just straight up said it in black and white. And the only thing I can do is elaborate on what he just said. So my honest, and this is because everyone had a chance to kind of give their opinion, I kind of zoomed out for a minute to write down what I believe my definition was, and then I heard his at the very end. My definition of what self-love is number one, self-love, it's a living thing. So I want to be very clear. Self-love is a living process. The definition I have that I wrote down just now is that self-love is the enduring process to improve, grow, and heal oneself. Self-love is the enduring process to improve, grow, and heal oneself. I believe over time, as we progress through life, notice I didn't say get older, because I believe in being young forever in my mind. But as we progress further in life, we're going to experience new situations that are going to build on what we already know about self. And we're going to become more confident in ourselves. Our self-esteem is going to rise if we're living our lives the right way. And if we find ourselves in positions where we don't have the confidence in an area, then that's either an area where improvement's required, or it's an area where we should seek out the healing, whether it's through seeking counseling, whether it's through, and by the way, specifically the Black brothers that are listening, I'm gonna say it again for the folks in the back, Black men, it is okay to get counseling. Anyway, moving forward, seeking counseling, talking with teammates. As I learned last night from talking with Jamila, being humble enough to identify an accountability partner as someone that can hold you down and keep you grounded to the earth. There's a lot of different ways we can continue to get better. And before I close, there's one thing I want to mention, and I think Ramel hit it on the head. When I was literally the day I got promoted to captain. This was May 15th, 2014. And I had just got promoted to captain, and my boss sat me down at the time. And she looked me in the eyes and she said, "Hey, Ken, congratulations. You finally, you made it to the big leagues where now you're going to be doing all these great things. But I want you to know something. No matter how much rank you wear, no matter if one day you go on to be a general and you wear stars on your chest, if you are not happy with who you are, the end result will always end up being the same. You will be alone and you will be in pain. And there's many people who walk around with families and all, and they got all this so-called love for their family, but they don't love themselves. It's because you look at your accomplishments, and the accomplishments give the facade of self-love. I loved myself enough to go get this degree. I loved myself. No, a lot of people did it because they know that this is what needed to be done to sustain the lifestyle that they wanted. It had nothing to do with personal internal growth. Let's make sure we separate the two.
Come on now.
Progressing self and literally loving self.
Preach,
So
come on.
What I bring to the table to basically close everything out, going back to what Ramel said, I got told if you ever want to know if you are doing right in your life, if you are satisfied with yourself, one of the easiest ways to know it is when you go home at night. If you got people in the house to live with you, wait till everybody goes to sleep. Let the house be dead silent. Put your hands right near your mirror and look yourself dead in the eyes. Just stare. If you can stare at yourself for at least 2 to 5 minutes straight, and you sense no guilt, you sense no pain, you sense nothing negative coming your way, it doesn't mean your life is perfect, but at least you know that you're not walking around with a guilt or a negativity on yourself. And I was confused when I first heard it, because I was like, this is BS. Like, who cares about, there's people who can murder people and go home and sleep like a baby. But what she was getting at was, if you're a person that has a conscience about yourself and you are genuinely interested in loving yourself, you will be able to look yourself in the eyes and your thoughts will race. Your thoughts are always moving. You just may not realize it. But when you can look at yourself and realize, I am happy with who I am, I love who I am at peace, and the only energy that's coming through your mind is that of improvement, of growth. Or if you identify something negative and the next thing your brain does is identify an opportunity for healing, not just sending you down that rabbit hole of anxiety, depression, stress, worry, and you can convert that into something tomorrow you can do to make yourself better, at least you know you are on the right track towards self-love long-term. So in short, it's the enduring process to improve, grow, and heal yourself. And it's a lifelong journey.
Okay. I love it. I love every part of that. So let's go on to a different level of understanding. How do you model or teach our next generation about what love is and how to express it, and whether it's parental love, whether it's relationship love, it doesn't matter, love of self. How are we modeling that for our next generation? How are we teaching them what healthy love is? What are we doing to manifest that into their lives? We're gonna start with Jamila.
So I said something, and I said this last week. It is important for me as people teach me how to love, because it is my job to love in the manner in which you understand. It is not my job to love you in the manner in which I understand. I understand that my little son love language is affirmation. I can buy him some chocolate. He knows that I love. But he also knows that that's a reward for good behavior, good grades, done what he's supposed to do. I think generation, when you talk about your children, it's important that you watch how they express love. Because as they begin to move and toddle along, you can see how they begin to express love even from a very, very early age. So when I deal with my children, I their love language. I knew my oldest is 24 now, but I knew from a very young age if I was upset with her, I didn't have her. I could send her away and not hug her. It's a very affectionate child. I don't want to hug you right now. So then when it was time to heal and have that conversation about what she did wrong and how to address those things, now I can mommy loves you, but what you did was, wasn't right, or, I was pointed or whatever. But now I can show you the affection and the love that you crave from when you're dealing with um, your family and your significant other. You, even if you don't ask out loud, teach me how to love you. Even, when you're first getting to know somebody, write down the things that they like. What do they like? What are their dislikes? What are things that um, are their pet peeves? Why would you agitate somebody that you say love? So I think it's very, very important that moving forward, we watch people and we learn how to love them in their love languages, the way that they move, and not try to force the way that we as individuals love, and be open to learning how they love, be open to experiencing love in a different and a new way. I think uh, moving forward, teaching young people, I'm not a roller coaster person, but my kids are. That's love for me. I know that they want to get on the roller coaster. I'm gonna get on the roller coaster with them. But that, simple things show love when you're dealing with children. It is the memory that show love to children. So I think, as you're talking about love and how to teach love and how to show love, it is most definitely about teach me how to love. And in Mr. Kim's words,
Okay. Okay. Um, come on, Miss Kayla. Let me know what yours is.
Um, repeat the question for me.
How do you model or demonstrate love for the next generation? How do we teach them what love really is and how to be in a healthy love situation, whether it's parental, whether it's relationship, whether it's friendship? How do we teach love to them?
I don't have children, but the children that I did work with, I made sure that that they were safe with their when it comes to their emotions with me. And that even with the little boys, I worked with kindergarten and under. So even with the little boys when they were crying, I would say to them, it's okay to cry, but you have to tell me why you're crying, and we can work through that, and be sure that I listen to them and I'm heard, and they're heard, because just because they are young doesn't mean that their emotions aren't valid, and that they are not to be heard, because we come from a generation of be seen and not heard. And I am becoming a generation of, no, I want the kids under I want the kids coming up under me to be heard, because they are more articulate, they are more intelligent, they are more self-aware, they are more emotionally sound than we've ever been. And it is okay to if you think, let's normalize therapy even for the kids. Let's not wait until they are teenagers and adults to enroll them in therapy. Give me 1 second. And so it's how we can show love is by examples. Let's be an example. Let's show them what a healthy marriage is. Let's show them what a healthy friendship is. Let's show them that what sitting down and being vulnerable is. Because we can say all the time, this is what you do. And it's almost like, do as I say and not as I do. So we say have healthy, happy relationships, but our relationships aren't healthy or happy, then that's hypocrisy. And I don't want to raise a generation of hypocrites, because we've encountered enough hypocrites in our lives to last us a lifetime. And that's where our traumas are concerned, especially when it comes to the Black church. But that's a whole nother story. How we deal with kids and love is to show them actively that it is okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be all of these different emotions, because just because you are not an adult doesn't mean that you're not dealing with real feelings. And we have to understand that, and we have to get them at their level, because their feelings really be hurt when Susie don't want to play with them. And so we have to talk to Susie and say, case in point, I was working at a daycare, and this little girl, she was getting overwhelmed. She's 5 years old. She was getting overwhelmed because she's so nice and wholesome that everybody wanted to play with her, but she couldn't play with everybody. And so I told her, and she was crying, and I said, you have to establish your boundaries. And it's not that she didn't love all of her classmates, she did, but she had to assert her boundaries. And finally she asserted her boundaries, and that Black queen was talking with her hands, asserting her boundaries. And I had to let her have that, because that's how we need to live. So we can guide our children on how to first establish boundaries, and be okay in their emotions. Also understand, recognize the signs that they may need professional help, and also be sure that they are continuously monitored and healthy. Because I'm doing a paper on it now. The mental health disorders that emerge in young kids before the age of 18 is astonishing. I don't have the exact stats in front of my face, but we definitely need to learn how to
8 out of 10 kids have a mental disability.
Right, and they cannot be medicated until the age of 18 because of the side effects of the medications. So the only thing that you can do with a child with a diagnosed mental health disorder is to give them intensive therapy. And we have to unpack those traumas. And like, I follow Google Atkins on Instagram, and she said, if anything happens to you, tell somebody. And if that somebody doesn't believe you, tell somebody else. So we have to give our children, I'm sorry, I'm saying so much. We have to give our children voices and understand and let them know that their voices can be heard, because we no longer can afford to tell our children that they are seen and not heard. They need to be heard and seen, and their voices need to be taken seriously. And we need to believe our children, and we need to investigate and hear them out, because it's important. It's important.
Okay. Peaches.
Part of the problem is, and unfortunately you have to blame my generation, because it's my generation. Because my generation decided to, once they decide to have kids, they weren't going to raise their kids the same way their parents were raised. Ergo, strictness, getting grounded, getting up doing chores. And then they had no idea the consequences of their actions were going to be far worse than them not raising their kids with a sound foundation. So what ended up happening is that you have all these kids that are not raised, have no respect, And parents are nowadays shocked because their kids have no type of sense of respect or honor the elderly. The way to show kids love is showing them by actions. And unfortunately, the reality is that you cannot show them everything. That is the downside to it. All you can do is show them how to love without judgment. As they get older, they will choose to make their own interpretation of how they want to love, but they should also be taught the consequences of their actions. For every reaction, there is a reaction. How you love, I don't want to say it has consequences, but how you choose to love a person with conditions can have negative consequences. Now, you can love a person wholeheartedly without stipulation, without rules, regulations, and still get a negative impact. But that's unfortunately is a part of life. That's just my opinion. I know people would say will seem differently as far as those type of opinions, but showing them is the best way too. But you can't, like I said, you cannot show a child everything on how to love because every person is different. Every person that comes into their life is going to be different. They just have to learn to adapt to each situation and each person that comes into their life. If they are not beneficial in their life, they can either do one of two things: remove them or keep them. In the end, they will still have to deal with the reaction of choosing to keep them in their life or not.
Okay. Okay. Um, you get Romeo. Let me know what you're thinking.
Um, okay, so it's gonna have to start in home, as they said earlier, at an early age and showing love, especially in our community. It's so much toxic love in our household from an early age. You might not understand the difference between it. So what you consider as love to somebody isn't love in another person's eyes. So it's about starting fresh out the womb and recognizing your faults where you came short up at and delivering that same purpose that your parents made you. I'm not gonna do you like my parents did me, but I want you to be better than I am. Show them that, okay, this is the wrong way, but this is what you could have got if you did it the right way. Just don't chastise. It's a good time to discipline, but majority of our kids now with these learning disabilities that they have, they're already frustrated. So we as parents, we have to become more patient with our kids. We have to take time. We have to stop rushing kids to grow up. We get a child now, they go from 0 to 3 to 5 to teenager to grown. There's no kid phase for children anymore. We might throw up a birthday for them, we might celebrate it, but it's not even for the kids. We have to let them be kids, and while they're being kids, instill the same lessons our parents instilled in us. Right from wrong. If you go touch that stove while the eye is on, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna say hot. Guess what? You ain't listening. Guess what you saying? Hot, daddy, it's hot. It's lessons like she said, it's lessons that we cannot teach them. Life gonna hit you regardless. It's my duty to protect you and to teach you all I can. But even at a young age, life is gonna do what it does. Only thing we can do is guide them. Hey, I already been down that road. This is what could happen. If you bump your head, now you know the lesson I know. But it starts early. It starts from within the home itself, understanding that we cannot continue the cycle that we've been introduced to from our parents. If we want to do better, if we want our kids to do better, we have to do better for ourselves and them. We have to change our behavior so they can change their behavior. Most people, most kids, I would say, learn things by watching. It's a learned behavior. So if you do not see it, you're not going to be taught at an early age. But that's it for me.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Since everybody has all made the best points that I can't even keep up with, I just had to caveat off of what everybody said. Brother Ramel said, showing them kids are very impressionable, and they do go off of what they see. So if they see that, their parents are demonstrating love towards each other, or, and the parents are demonstrating love towards each other, a happy, healthy relationship, or even the fact that if it's a single parent home and that parent themselves is, showing self-love and whatnot, the kids learn from that, because it's like, well, there's a reason that daddy's always happy, there's a reason mommy's always happy. Why is that? And then even down to being vulnerable. And that was something I actually struggled with, crying in front of my son for the first time. And it was when I lost my daughter. But it was something that, it showed him that, it's all right to cry. Even though daddy is big and strong and whatnot, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to, show emotions and whatnot. But it starts again at home, and it starts with us. Not going against everything that the elders taught us, but, understanding that, the mind is a powerful thing, whether we realize it or not. It is crazy how the brain works. But once we get to a state where we can be transparent with our kids, and, to a degree, because they don't need to know everything, but we can be transparent with our kids and show them and teach them how to show emotions, how to be vulnerable, when it's appropriate, because there's a time and place for everything. Even when it's, getting mad and getting frustrated, because it's normal, it's natural. Kids get mad just like we do. But showing them and teaching them when, to exercise these emotions and whatnot, they can learn from that and grow from that.
Okay, Mr. K. Fitz, go on, let me hear your statements with that one. Ken Coleman, oh, there you go.
Oh, God. Okay. I want to make sure I understand. The question is, how do you teach love to the next generation, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay. My question is not necessarily how, but how the hell does a person know if they're equipped to teach the next generation?
Good question.
Good question.
I mean,
Come on now. What's 1, 2, and 3?
Come on.
When I honest to God think about it, every single day, all of us are striving to be better. At the end of the day, none of us are perfect. There was only one perfect man that walked the earth, and even that man got beat down by many. So what we have to focus on doing is two things. And I bring this back up, and it's going to be a hot take for many, but I stand by what I'm saying. You want to teach somebody else how to love others, let them see how you love yourself. How you love yourself is through the standards that you set. It's through your daily habits. It's through how you practice every day. It's through, we talk about it. Practice makes perfect, right? Even though we'll never make perfect, we know practice makes perfect, wink, wink, right? So we have to continue doing the things that are going to make us better. We're going to have to continue growing, evolving, but we have to put it in front of young people where they can see it. Because here's the honest to God truth. I've heard the phrase a million times. What they see is what they will be. And at the end of the day, how do you make sure that you're qualified? You can't make sure you're qualified. But what you can do is continue to work on your credentials every single day. Hey, look, I may not be the best lover, but guess what? Daddy gonna take the time to practice having a conversation with you. I'm gonna take the time and I'm gonna practice investment. I don't know a damn thing about Beyblades, y'all, but I will sit up in my room and I will Beyblade with my son for like 2 hours if it means letting him know that daddy's interested. It's those small things we have to do to show that love. And in the same turn, what you're also doing is showing that level of self-love, because it shows that within you loving yourself, you're not so full of yourself that you're not willing to bring yourself down to a child's level to say, yeah, I don't understand how you play this game, but I'm willing to learn it. I don't understand exactly what you're talking about perfectly, but I'm gonna rock with you. I'm gonna have this conversation. I'm gonna absorb what I can. And you know what else shows love? When we're done talking, I don't know it. I don't understand it. That's cool. Guess what? As soon as my son walks out the room, I'm Googling whatever it is he's talking about, because we just so happen to live in a day and age where we have more access to technology and information than any other age before us. So you may not be able to perfectly love. You may not be perfectly qualified to be the constant giver of that love. But there's nothing stopping us at this point from seeking out the information, because we just so happen to be blessed to be in an age where having access to it is borderline unlimited. The best way I can think of to give to that next generation, it comes in two parts. One, what they see is what they will be. Practice self-love and put your practices of self-love in front of them so that they observe how to love themselves. Then from there, continue to love on them. You may not be perfect. You will not always get it right, but put in the attempts to grow and to show them better. Number three, be humble and understand that you're not always going to know the answer. It's not always going to be perfect. Like I said, you're not perfect. You're not going to be 100% qualified, but you're going to have just enough of the credentialing that that child needs and expects to be able to trust that you have the skills to teach them how to learn and how to love better. So those are my 3 recommendations. I yield. That's all I got.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, everybody. Tonight has been very wonderful. It has been an enlightening situation. I thank all of you all who have taken the time to come in and have this conversation. So I thank my panel. Yay! I also thank all those who've taken the time to watch this video and watch this live feed. It will be uploaded to YouTube here shortly, and I'll make sure the link is available. Tonight's discussion about love is a lot, and it only scratches the surface. It's still a whole lot more that we really can go. But for the exploration, for a beginning of it, I think it gives us a lot to think about and what we want to do in moving forward. So I do thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and close out for the night. Your wonder, your time, your energy has been well received and well enjoyed. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good evening. Happy Sunday and have a great week. Good night.
Thank you. Good evening.
Y'all have a good night now. Yeah.